All right. So we're gonna start a keyboard stream pretty soon. So, looks like one person's joined so far. I'll give it a few minutes, but I'm going to have a couple options, and whoever is actually watching, maybe you guys the option of what you want me to do. Because might as well. I'm leaning one way versus another, but both, I think, fun, viable builds. I guess I really need to set up a specific time. I was thinking Mondays, probably a little later than this, actually. But it just happens to be a holiday for me, so I'm off. And I gotta do something today, because I want to build one of these boards. I think it'll be fun. And if nobody joins or comments, then I know which one I'm probably going to choose. So, a couple options. One, looks like somebody else joins you. So, feel free. You get to kick in an idea for what you'd like to see. One is in box A. It's in AliExpress case and LFK keyboard or PCB and plate. And I'm thinking about doing some blue Alps. And I'm not really sure which key set I'd use yet. Either that Alps throwback that I was going to use recently on something else, but I still have around, or something simple like a tie house set. Or the other option is, and I'm kind of leaning toward option one personally, but the other option is to rebuild, because this has Telios. TX 1800. I'm definitely torn, right? Because I like this keyboard and I want to use it. But at the same time, I definitely want to play with this Alps build. Anyway. Alright. It's only a tiny little bit of people are watching, and no one's commented. So I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this Alps AliExpress case build. Alright, so I've opened this, and actually I painted this LFK plate. It's not perfect, but I sandblasted it and painted it after I took a file and removed all the burrs, or most of them, off the inside. So it appears to me as though this LFK plate, as though the guy who runs it, or the guy who's making them, is doing these on like a home built router or something made for cutting not metal, because there's a lot of wandering of the bit. You could tell, left really uneven burr marks. So I filed them down and smoothed them all out, and then, well, to some extent, enough so that you're not going to be able to see it on this camera, but if you look real close in there, like where that stabilizer cutout is, or not the stabilizer cutout, but the horizontal portion, you can see like rough surface right there. Anyway, yeah, so whoever made this, LF Keyboards, right? They did it on our router, and it just wasn't as smooth as it could be. So that's okay. Filed it down, got it right enough to do this build to where it'll look good. Painted it, and I'm using their PCB also. And I tested this all out. And also a little bit of QC issues on theirs. Now, granted, the guy was willing to make it right, and was willing to allow me to try and fix it and still be willing to make it right. So good on him, but there was just a cold solder joint on like this one little surface mount item right there. So I just drag soldered it clean, and then everything works now. But FYI, you may encounter QC issues when you buy those parts, right? Somebody else had joined, so I just wanted to let you know. I was trying to give anybody an option. There's also a TX 1800 rebuild that I could do, so it's not too late if you chime in and you're like, let's do that instead of this. We could. That one I'd be rebuilding with Holy Jesus switches, which I have to lube and build up. I'm leaning more toward this build right here of this case, even though it's a less premium case. It's going to be a more interesting build with Alps blues. And I have a couple keycap options. I may go with the cheaper tie house set, which is technically what this thing is made for, what this plate is made for. Or I may go with Alps Throwback, the Desk Candy Alps Throwback set. I'm not sure. But either way, let's look at the case. You can still decide after that, I guess. Junk. Some bump-on straight. Screws, straight. Feet. Hold the board up at an angle. And then this board came with a mini USB connector plug-in. And then I bought with that PCB a USB-C connector. I kind of looked at it, and the screw holes in this are narrower, or less diameter than these, just slightly. And some of the screws that came with the case will fit in there and hold this down Now if I use this guy, I'm gonna have to come up with some other method of fixing it. And I have some ideas. I'm not worried about it. I'm not 100% sure whether I want it to be mini or USB-C, right? I mean, I know that I want it to be USB-C because that's the future, but I have very few keyboards that actually use USB-C, only a few, whereas the rest use mini USB. All the nicer ones actually use mini USB that I have, so I'm like 50-50. Luckily, I don't have to decide right now, and if you guys have a strong preference, feel free to let me know. Anyway, onto the case itself, right? This is what the AliExpress, the inexpensive AliExpress case looks like in black, so I guess it'll be harder to tell on camera because of lower contrast whether it's really nice or not, but the inside of the case has some blemishes. However, where it matters on the outside, where you're going to see it, there's no damage or problems with it at all. It's very, very nice. So this is what it looks like. And you can see some blends, like on the inside right there, near where the foot goes, on the underside of this top piece, which you can't see yet. There's some blends right there on the inside, the bottom piece. So I mean, there are issues, but they're non-visible from the outside. And then here, there's something, but with the feet on, again, you're not gonna be able to tell. So it's definitely food for thought, right? Give me 1 second. Yeah. So anyway, I think I'm gonna build this unless somebody says different. And at least the video will be around for anybody to watch later if this isn't what they wanted, or if this is. Yeah. So anyway, this case actually looks really nice. I'm gonna build this. Some of this other stuff off to the side so we don't damage it like a TX84. Ease your mind, I put cream on it. Lay back, relax, now dream on it. What you think? You wanna drink? You wanna see on the shore, make you walk the plane? Skydive, overview. California, what a point of view. The weather, whatever, endure your endeavor. If you ride with me, baby, we can do this forever. In a day, yes sir, ain't no other way. This is California, yeah. Even though this is royalty free, supposedly. I don't know. Questioning it. But I'll go to something I know is royalty free. Alright. So, let's open this bad boy up. See what it looks like on the inside. So again, you can see minor blends on this compared to what you'd be used to if you were doing something really premium, right? Like a Duck or an LZ or TX or anything like that. That being said, while the blems are less uniform, i.e. they're not spread across the whole surface, I would say that the ano on this is actually overall a little cleaner, or over the entire surface cleaner than like that salamander, which is great, but it almost needs to be refinished, and I have a feeling that I will actually refinish it at some point. I don't know how though. I haven't figured that one out yet, what I want to do to it. So, this, there are some blems right there on the inside. Everything else looks pretty good. On this, the corners are a little rougher than you would expect, potentially. 2 of them are, anyway. Otherwise, it's pretty good. Yeah, except for where I already mentioned the feet areas. Wow, that one actually looks really terrible on camera, like worse on camera than it does in person. Anyway. Yeah, so we'll get to this. Now, here's where this is going to be relatively creative, actually. So the only place that the plate attaches to this case is right here, which actually is going to give a very large amount of flex to the front switches on the case. I feel like an unrealistic amount, something that would be completely uncomfortable. So actually what I'm going to do is to make this board stable and feel good is kind of something really special, and it's going to take some hand fitting. And so the plan is, as of right now, subject to change based on, you know, whatever we encounter, right, is for this plate to go in like this, and either I will or won't screw it down here. It's very possible I won't. And then on the bottom part of this case, as it goes like that, I'm actually going to affix some neoprene to at least the edges, maybe down the rows, but maybe not, depending on how flexy it is after we do just the edges. So it'll be like a little gasket mount. There's not really enough surface on the whole rim, because there's none here really, and it's minimal on the bottom, to apply some gasket material there to damp that coming up against the top of the case. And it may be beneficial to actually tack it down with the screws that were included to the top of the case. I have a feeling I won't do that part, but that I'll at least do the rim along the PCB so that the PCB is resting against gasket material. So I don't know. I guess we'll see where we get, but I have material for that already. This neoprene, 1/2 inch wide by 1/4 inch thick, and it'll need to be trimmed a little bit. I measured it, and 1/4 is, man, if I'm right, at like 15 thousandths maybe? No, 20 thousandths taller than the space below the case will be. So yeah, it's probably gonna need to be trimmed, maybe not. I mean, neoprene is pretty compressible, and this is a pretty soft neo, like it's pretty soft, so it may actually just be good at 1/4, but we'll have to see, right? I'll put a strip down and we'll find out. And then I grabbed some other thinner 1/8 inch neoprene for the rest of the bottom that we don't have gasket material on. And there are places where there won't be gasket material, so like right here where the daughter board goes and stuff like that, there won't be. So I don't know, it's gonna be fun and interesting. But to start this thing out, let's do the parts that definitely need to be done first in terms of the build, right? So that's going to be putting these stabilizers in. Let's put this thing right side up, right? So putting the stabilizers in, etc. And of course, these are going to be plate mount stabs. So, well, actually, does this support screw-in stabs? I was going to say, I don't think it can possibly. No, absolutely doesn't. So anyway, plate mount steps, which we do have some of. So in order to increase the contrast, and because I will eventually be soldering against this anyway, I'm gonna pull the good old soldering mat out. That has some dirt and dust on it. Let's get that off real quick. From my recent Alps desoldering adventures, I realize I gave you guys no notice for this build, so I'll make a schedule this week for when I'm planning on doing builds, because they're going to be kind of on the same days at the same times, and I'm sure they'll conflict with somebody else, but that's okay. That is all right. Try not to as much as possible, of course. But you can only do so well, right? Alright. So let's get some plate mount stabilizers. Alps. Mostly Alps stuff in here, although not all. That's a 7. More 7U. Man, I have a lot of 7U co-star stabs. More than I thought I did. Clipping PCB. Gross. There we go. That is what I'm looking for. Easy enough to find out though. It looks like these take I hate how unstable these are inherently. Looks like it's doing its job though. Oh no, okay, there it is. Just probably because I painted the board, so there's some paint changing the tolerances there. Tiny little bit. Come on. Alright. Yep, that seems to be doing the job. I'm gonna lubricate them, so don't worry about that. sure we got the right stuff, you know. And now it does make a little bit of a difference what stabilizers we're going to use, or what keycaps we're going to use, right? Because those Alps throwbacks are going to use the CoStar style insert. So likely they just use these, no problem. However, if we are going to use true Alps switches, which I think the tie-how ones are, we can find out too. We will find out. We'll find out right now. We will just test it. Well, that definitely would make a difference, right? Because these are, the Alps ones have the very wide. So let's leave that out. Definitely need to make that decision now. Now, the thing is this matches that case so well that I'm tempted to use it even though it's tie-how and it's gonna feel cheap comparatively. I mean, it's not a super premium build in general, right? So should I just use these tie-how caps? I don't know. But either way, let's see what our stabilizer situation is. These are the right ones for the most part. No, they aren't. These are from the kit before. So if I were going to use the throwback set, this is the type of thing I would use actually. But using the standard Alps set would look something like this, right? So I think these are from a 5140 or something like that. We'll try it out. I don't know why I dumped all that out. I didn't need to, but it's okay. Let's grab one of these switches real quick. Okay, so let's get this going, right? So this is going to be a problem. Not going to work, right? So I'm either going to need to find something else. Do I have ultra wide? I have to. I have some wider ones. And I know I made an actual super wide wire for this thing, right? Before. That I was making for specifically use. And so that's going to be maybe just a little too wide. Guess I could straighten it out and rebend. Like it was, just check it out right now. See if it's functional or not. I think that's where I'm at with it. Anyway. Inserts. Those are cherry. Do none of these have inserts on them? So it's not the end of the world because I do have keycaps with them, but like plenty of them. All right, well, here we go. Here's some Apple AEK caps. These are always on tight. So that actually works pretty well, honestly. And it does, in fact, actuate all the way. It doesn't come out the front. It can move just a little forward, which means we can adjust it inward without cutting it or doing anything messed up. Right, so it's that. Plus 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And let's try out a spacebar to make sure that this is going to work. Let's get the tie-how. Spacebar. Which of course takes co-star, which hopefully means that this wire we chose right here will actually work. Right, and we'll test one of the other ones out too, just for safety's sake. But this should go pretty quick now. Now exactly what we're doing. Well, I say that, but who knows exactly what they're doing with Alps, right? They're always going to run into some little issues here and there. That will literally always be the case. Who was it I was talking to yesterday on one of the Discords who was saying something always goes wrong, and it's true, something does always go wrong. just true. Oh, it's malformed. That's gross. Go there for now. Well, it's not. It just has a narrower than normal cruciform. I guess that's all of them. What goes in is just tight. Yeah, I think I'm going to use these tie-hot ones just because I have a feeling this board will never be 100% non-rattly. As a result of the tolerances between those sliders, and I'll lubricate them appropriately to reduce that rattle. But yeah, we'll see. So hey, somebody else joined in, huh? Feel free to say hey if you want. I'll pay attention. Ask what the project is if you don't know. Anyway. So. Junky keycaps that I don't really want anymore anyway. From an M0116. Yeah. Okay. So that fits. Where is? Right, no, that shift. Yes. I guess it doesn't matter. I'll try and find the right guy. Could use that. Here's enter, though I probably won't use that. I'll probably use a red one that I have. That's it. There's my left shift. Because I will definitely use the right guy. This will be the last one we test out, right? Because it's only a standard 2U stab. know what? You guys probably can only hear me so well as a result of the fact that this microphone wasn't over here. It picks stuff up pretty well, but I'm guessing it's only so good. So yeah, so try and listen to this, right? You can hear a lot of rattle. I'll even pause the music, right? So that's super rattly, but we will reduce that coming up. We will indeed. All right. Oh, got that. That's a bummer. Also loud and rattly, but fits correctly. Okay. These do in fact fit correctly. So these are the stabilizers that we will use. Set these wires aside for proper lubrication. These switches out. That was already pretty loose. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's correct, right? Yeah, okay, cool. 2, 4, 6 more. So upcoming, I think I'm gonna end up with a wire bending jig so that I can bend this all into place appropriately so that I can bend stabs. So like if you look at this one, which I bent with pliers, it's not perfect. I mean, it's good enough to get the job actually done, but it's not perfect. And that's partially because it was pre-bent and I bent it new. So what I'm gonna do is to get some stock for doing this thing and an actual bending jig, and I'm gonna make my own. And I do believe that that's the way to approach this in the future. I could have made this whole thing easier on myself by doing something like this. Maybe not like exactly this, right? But using the K104 stabilizers, which should be fully MX stem stabilizers compatible, and then just using the Alps throwback set, which is white and blue or red and beige, right? So it would look like a pretty standard old keycap set. But in this case, even though these are less premium caps, they'll, one, match the case, and two, they'll be Dolce, which I like. I like Dolce. So anyway, let's harvest the remainder of the stabilizer inserts that I need. All right, so 2 of those have them. I have enough for... So done, let's say. Done. So I need 2 more caps worth. And I have plenty of other bags of MO115 and 6 keycaps. Actually, not MO115s, they're M3501 or whatever. AEK2s. I don't have any AEK1s that I've desoldered, I don't believe. Mostly because the only MO115s that I've ever had were orange Alps, and after I bought them for that intent, but then the moment I touched them and used them, I was like, nope, leaving these. These are fantastic, exactly the way they are. I don't know, some vintage boards you just don't want to desolder, right? Because they're that good. So where did you go? I'm gonna set these all off to the side once I'm done here. These weren't touched, so they'll go over here. Those weren't touched. Just so that I know that I'm not taking something that, yeah, like this. Like this is now going off to the side. Because it's been, parts have been stolen from it. That has not been touched. Here's a question. Should I use these black inserts here? I think I should. Not that I think you'll be able to see them, but you know, it's just cooler to match, right? I actually have black co-star inserts somewhere too. Apparently not in this bunch of stuff. That's okay though. Those were just parts anyway. Helps if I try and push them out the right way, right? Let's make sure these snap in and fit correctly. Could do this the right way. That would probably help. How about I do that? Try and put them in from the bottom like an idiot. Yeah, these actually do not fit as well for whatever reason. So we're gonna go back, because you're not really gonna be able to see that anyway. And I'm absolutely more concerned with them functioning correctly. All right, let's try it one more time. No, it's like they're not made for quite as thick of a PCB. And like I said, I could have been, because of the paint, adjusted the tolerance of this board in a way that it would be detrimental to that thing existing or occurring correctly. Anyway, those were parts. These are parts. So let's go back as is. Yeah, these were parts. I wasn't doing anything in particular with them. Same. So really, it's just those ones I set to the side already. Same. Okay, all my stabilizers. You guys, you guys. Sure, let's just insert those wires right now. There's a bunch of T-caps in here I'm not going to want. Stabilized. We'll set you off to the side. We may use you. We'll use you. So enter. You got caps. Oh, why is that? Oh, because a lot of Alps capses were stabilized. I forgot all about that. I didn't even think that that was like a... So I really don't need that. So I really only need... Fine. And then I will set these off. I did actually miss something when I put all that stuff up. I'll throw these in here. I'm not guaranteeing that I'll use them, but I'll put them in. Sure, you can stay there. I'm just gonna pull all these back. I do need more of those stabilizer inserts, or the plate stab inserts. We're gonna end up pulling all these back out anyway. Oh no. Switch down. Or keycap down rather. Alright, we'll get to soldering here in just a sec. Actually, we won't. We will get to lubing these up real quick. not lubing the wires, but lubing, like putting band-aids on and lubing those real quick. We'll do that after soldering. I want to get them in place. It's the wrong order of operations for me normally, you know, because we do MX, so not really. You always put those staves on the PCB, right? And do the band-aid mod and lube to the PCB itself. So that happens before necessarily putting the plate on. But in this case, because this is strictly Alps, that's not the way that works. And it's CoStar, plate mount CoStar at that. So it is the oddity in terms of order of operations, right? And I kind of want to do that because I kind of want to fit the case, right? When I get to that part, it's exciting to me. All right, so let's get a few of these in place. I did not straighten all these pins. That's okay, it's relatively easy. I'll do that for these right now. Ones that I'm going to insert. I was actually going to like, what's it called? Ultrasonic clean all of the sliders. But these were really clean feeling to begin with, and if I feel like that needs to happen later, I just will do it. Because luckily Alps is all switch top removable, right? So it's easy enough. In fact, I've fully lubricated housings, sliders, the whole deal, on an already soldered together board, on a vintage board that I never desoldered. Yeah, that's pretty good. Where did I lose that? Oh, I didn't lose it. Okay. Cheers, guys. To another fun and exciting keyboard build. of some Alps clickies. Nice. Haven't done that in a long time. Anything with Alps clickies in a long time, with the exception of desoldering. You know what we need to do, which may be a little bit loud, but hopefully not too much. Get some air going. Solder joint. Come back to it. Don't want to add too much heat. So as much as I was like, hey, this LFK plate is not awesome, which I don't think the plate is awesome, the PCB is actually pretty good. I like this PCB. It supports both orientations. The bottom orientation supports mil-max sockets, which you can tell literally just by how big in diameter they are. And I have some. I mean, I guess I could test fit them. But either way, like, it's pretty awesome that it supports all that in an Alps layout. It's just maybe less than perfectly awesome that the plate that he sells for it isn't constructed, in my opinion, super well. I'm not talking trash about it too much because, well, who else has got this option out there? And doing that thing is expensive, right? So tooling up to do that thing legitimately. Whereas he has to be having the board farmed out. He may be doing some of the SMD stuff himself, or all of it even, but the board manufacturing is not done by him. This is clearly a professionally built. Not that he's not a professional, he is. But what I mean is he's contracting it out to another company, and that's what they do. Exclusively, I'm sure. So let's make sure all these are flat down to the surface. Three, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. And one in the center, but it isn't done yet, right? Solder. It's the only problem with multiple compatibility PCBs is that extra hole invariably sucks up some of the solder, and you have to pour more into one of the legs than the others. Perfect. Okay. So this is what we want to see on this board. Now we're going to populate a bunch more of these switches. We're going to get to it. I'm actually going to tack down a couple more areas. Because I want a bunch of stability in the board. That's weird. Oh, I see what you're doing there. So I'm bending these back into shape, and then there's some that have bent off leads. I'm gonna remove those from the batch just for now. That's a good start for now. And it'll be super stable. Solder the rest. Come on. I hate the 10-minute auto power off on the Xtronic 3020. I wish I could defeat it. We're like, that's how you don't burn your house down. And it's like, sure. Also, you could just turn it off. I'm not going to claim that I've never left a soldering iron on before for a while. Also, if it's up in its holder correctly, probably isn't that much of a risk, to be frank.
All right. Oop,
bump that temp up just a little bit. That's probably not what we want. That's fine. FYI, I'm rolling at about 742 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what I roll for this leaded solder. On a new fresh board like this, I'm not that worried about pad delamination or anything weird like that. So that's a broken leg. Those are straight. Not straight. Actually, for soldering, that's usually where I roll with leaded solder no matter what. Now we're just going to fill up the board and get this guy done. Get to the exciting part of fitting the board, right? Or fitting the case. Good board. So I'm kind of curious whether people even like Alps in general. Like, I know that most people don't do Alps builds because they're difficult, but I wonder if it's because they're difficult or if it's because most people just aren't that interested. What's going on here? Bend back just a little bit. Like, it's always a question for me. Do people not Alps because they're not into them? I mean, it happens. Sometimes you're just into or not into a certain part of the hobby. Like, I don't really love 60% or the tiny boards or smaller even, right? Just because it's not my gig. They're cool, like from a manufacturing standpoint or from a premium sense. Like, they look cool, they look premium, and they're cheaper because there's less material. So I absolutely see the massive draw to them. It's just not the thing that I'm all about. But I wonder if that's like where people are at with Alps, or if it's literally just because the time cost of entry into the segment it's too great. It requires too much effort. Because it does kind of, but at the same time, that could be alleviated by better options. Like, this is a good option, in fact. It just accepts pretty cheap, junky keycaps by default, right? Can you make it accept new ones? Yes. Are there good guides out there? Probably not. You're gonna have to tinker with it, figure it out. The collection of knowledge for MX stuff is just much better curated. Probably because there's current manufacturers, so people are excited about new products, and then they put out content related to it. And I'm not knocking anyone. Like, that's the way of the world. And I wouldn't actually want it to be a lot different. But I like Alps. And it's like, I've gained a bunch of knowledge about how they work and how stuff goes through a lot of disparate sources. There aren't great comprehensive guides. And there isn't standardization in how people do Alps support because there was less standardization in the boards previously and stabilizers, etc. So is there just a lack of good resources about them? I don't know. I feel like that's more oriented to like a forum post than probably a hey on stream with not very many people. Like, what do you guys think? With like no people, mostly. Like, what if we, I don't know, even if somebody who streamed and had a huge number of followers asked that question for this community, huge, I don't think you'd get good answers for the most part. wonder if there's like more premium builds of these kinds of cases. Actually, I know that there is. I know someone that has. Well, I know of someone that has a Tex TKL case, so maybe nicer. I don't know for sure. With Alps ambers in it and DSA light cycle on it, which by all accounts is more premium, quote unquote, than this. But wonder if there's like somebody with Alps browns on theirs or something. Super nice, you know what I mean? These Alps ambers are pretty damn nice though. I don't know, man. Don't worry, I got some of those coming in. See how that works. If you guys notice, I'm switch hitting now. I find it easier to feed the wire in from this side. Is it because my soldering iron is... because my solder's coming from that side? I don't want the tangled cables with the solder? Probably. Probably. All right. Taking a second to heat up. It's usually pretty quick. Had a little bit of a fat glob, which would be fine, right? But I actually just don't want my product to not look good. It wasn't cold, but I want my boards, solder joints to look like they're good. Noticeably, obviously, from the outside. No one to question, oh, well, is that thing bad? In that case, that meant desoldering that and fixing it. That's actually one of the reasons that having a desoldering pump is really good, even if all you're doing is soldering. No desoldering planned. Because invariably, you're going to do something a little bit wrong sometime and you want to fix it, or you're going to do something where it's like, nah, it doesn't look good, and you want to correct it. It's really hard to do that without a desoldering pump. Do it well anyway. I mean, you could use wick in those cases because you're not doing a lot, but I'm just generally not a fan of wick if you don't absolutely have to use it. I realize most people are not going to just go out and get a desoldering pump of some sort just for that rare instance where they could have like $4 worth of soldering wick on hand at any given time and be equipped to do whatever it is they need to. But if you have any reason to ever have that tool for that job, you'll understand that it's pretty awesome to have for other jobs too. So, yeah. Alright guys, we're almost done. Bottom row, the row with the fewest switches. I'm a big fan, by the way, of 7U spacebar bottom rows with blockers on whatever case it is. So I prefer even fewer switches on my bottom rows. Like that big spacebar. Which is dumb because I only actually use, for the most part, not always, but almost always, right hand. Or space. Or right thumb. But I still, for whatever reason, I like the way it looks. I like the way it feels. Well, I like the way it looks. It's less stable, right? Because it's a bigger bar. Requires more sturdy stabilizer support. But I still like the way it looks. It sounds, as long as it's not rattly. Alright, so now we're together. Let me tune this tip real quick. Turn it off. Grab this bad boy. And we'll throw out the switch tester, or switch hitter. See where we end up. Right, okay. So F5 doesn't work. 10. Ooh. What's that all about? Oh, hold on. I must have hit whatever its reset was. That's okay. Okay, so both question mark and bracket. Shift works. So both of these. F5, F10. F5, F10. And both of the things next to shift. Oh well. F10 and F5 aren't soldered in. Both of these next to shift. We'll find out. Okay, F10. So I had an issue with these before. Next to shift, right? It was actually this D19 deal. So why don't I try to figure that out. I'm actually going to plug this in. Those are the things he was willing to like work with me on. But I did get them working. Alright, so let's go back to switch header. F10, F5. So those are soldered in well. There's nothing wrong with that. Weird. Okay. Yep. So that's literally what it was. So there was a cold joint between those. Now let's flip it over. Let's reset it. Let's try this again. Okay. Satisfied with that. So this is now functional, right? Functional enough. No, it's functional. I'm just playing. It's actually good. So now we're done with that solder job. Tune that. Turn that off. Put that up. All right. Wind this back up. Get rid of this solder. Okay. Now, I'm actually going to start fitting this to the case because that's the part that I'm a little worried about. Do I want to do that or do I want to do the stabs first? Let's just do the stabs. Do the stabs. Enter. Escape. Okay, so it's going to look like this. The rest are going to be black. Sound good? I think it looks good. We can add more later if we change our minds. But I did buy these keycaps just for that. Alright, so we'll do the stabs, then we'll get this thing going. Backspace, enter, shift, of course, other shift, spacebar. Not a ton. And shift doesn't even, I don't think, need, it doesn't, well, it does need some, but not in the same places. So, done. So what are we going to lube it with? Today I'm going to try something a little bit different than I normally do. Mostly because, I mean, a lot of other people use this, and I've never really used some of this stuff to great success. I mean, I've played with it, but have not done all the same effort everyone else has with some of it, right? So 4, 6, 8. It's weird. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah. 4. All right. So most of these, with the exception of this, should be exactly or very close to in line with the wire guides, right? This is the huge per Alps, and then this one will be way out at the outsides, because it's the oddity, but we'll do that one soon. Right, so let's Sometimes these are real hard to get apart. Sometimes super annoying. Oh well. Such is life, right? Isn't that the case with everything? Premium board. Why didn't they do the Band-Aid mod? Everybody that I've seen streaming has done Band-Aid mod, as far as I can see. Pretty much just does it as a routine. Whew, that came way out fast.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Sunday here.
It was way too much.
Welcome back.
You're now my donor. Tell me how often you see people lubricating plate stabs. Right, but there is a friction point right here.
Welcome back. Sunny here. I haven't seen wands like this in a while. Stabs that wreck faces. Wizard zombies. Literally zombies that are wizards. It's insane.
So I like using 3204 on these components usually, or something even thicker like 205G0. 205 grade 0 is pretty thick stuff though. But it does reduce a lot of vibration. This is pretty thick as well. Like I said, I haven't used a ton of this. But I'm trying to, because it's a lot cheaper and easier to find than 205 grade 0, and this board is where I get to experiment on it, see how it works. That's okay though. I'm also going to do some dielectric grease, obviously. So that would keep them smooth. And then I had some electric grease around here. Oh, dirt. So this is kind of the right way for me to do it, right? And do it so that it smears on and makes the whole thing look a little wet. Does not take a lot. When I use 3204 or 32 or 205 grade 0 even, it's a different amount that it takes to make this go. Like it's not the same volume. I'm kind of just feeling this out and getting it mostly right. That's probably a little much right there. Yeah, it is. Kind of see at the rate it makes it start looking wet, I think. Yeah, I'm not gonna mess with those too much more. Anyway. Oh, don't do that. So there's a couple other spots, right, where we're gonna want that. Get these wires in there. So with these Alps ones, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put them. I'm going to take this. Weird for Alps because it's both more and less important in different ways to to do this thing. So there's less friction because there's actually less contact surface area. However, the stabilizers are more rattly simply because that's more the end stabilizer portion is more open and wider. So lubricating, in my opinion, this inner elbow part right here, and outer part, probably just a little bit less, but this top part is more important. Right, and you can kind of do that by filling the void on the actual cap. But we're just going to lubricate these pretty heavy. This, not super heavy, but pretty heavy. Because I'm curious to see what it's like, and worst case scenario, I can remove some. Although that is not the easiest thing in the world. Because that's heavily lubed, I don't need to lube these too heavy. We're not trying to damp it so much as make sure that some just gets to that location. We're not adding the filler part for damping. I don't know. All things considered, that's actually not really bad at all. So, I'm gonna turn this off now. We're not doing any soldering, so we don't need that. we'll do another one of those. Yeah, so I'm, like I said, I'm doing my experimenting with these versus like a customer board, which I would not experiment on because, well, that's not mine, right? Huh. Oh yeah, that's the wrong one. What the? Oh, this is a narrower for like control or something. Yep. So I just lubricated a stab that I'm not going to use. That's okay. I'll grab another one. Okay, to put all those actually up. So that, it's almost like it went under the stab wire. Yep. Okay. So that's overlubed. This is some thick stuff. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I actually find this, now that I'm working with it, more difficult to work with. So it may be less expensive, but like 3204 or, well, 205 grade 0 is not easier to work with, but 3204 is absolutely easier to work with. Like in every way almost. Like every way. works. That's good. Oh, why did I do that? I got one more. Okay, now that is actually pretty clean. Feels real good. Okay, now we got this done. Let's actually get this thing fitted into its fucking case. That's what I want. Then we'll have a board, boys. All right. So. We're going to set this down, and that's not great for the inner case, but I want to see how much clearance we've got, right? All right. Fresh neoprene, guys. All right, so the distance between switches is 19 or 19.05 millimeters. So what that means is this being half inch should be about 12.5 millimeters. So there should be plenty of space if I wanted to support under every row, and there is. But I'm not sure I want that, right? I probably want it on the edges and then the rest not. So I believe what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut strips that are just way longer than I need them to be. To work with, because I don't want to work with the whole freaking row at once, right? And if I look on the top of the board, plenty of space. And then on each side, I don't think there's gonna be, right? There isn't. And on the bottom, there isn't gonna be. Sorry, on the bottom there is, on the top there isn't. And on the sides. So, what we're gonna do is, and I could have soldered these in the other direction so there was on the top, but I didn't really think about that, and it's not gonna help the sides, right? So on the bottom, there's plenty. So on the bottom, we should be able to butt this up directly here. Lift. Let's put that back. How do I want to do this? I think what I want to do is this, and this may just be a waste, but I got like plenty of excess, and I'd rather make this faster. Than precise. I mean, not that it's going to be wrong, it's not. Okay, so that's the bottom. Boom. And now, if I do this, so if that's done right, so I could just do that, and then it'd be like half gasket mount and half top, which actually could be pretty amazing because it'd add a lot of flex to the middle. Top would be pretty solid still, but I think, I just don't think I want to do the top that way, right? So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put a row so this part's going to be dead. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blow, mount that right there. And those, I believe those holes are directly in line with the LEDs. They are. So they're directly under that and they're centered. So as long as I center along that column, should be pretty freaking golden. But the distance that I can go is really from the edge of this board to just past or at that blocker, because I don't want to interfere with the reset button. I could do another little section right after, but I'm probably just going to skip that because the wire is going to go in there, right? The daughter card wire. And I can't really do this section. So what I think I'll do is do a little bit in this row between these two, right? So just below the top there, but we'll come back to that. So let's do this side. So from here to here, direct, just boom, centered under that. We're gonna go for that. Again, cut way too freaking much. It's fine with me. It's weird. You know, and the good thing about this neoprene is we could literally lift this back up anytime we want. There's a way to do this that's a little bit less of a pain than this right here, but I think it would be more time consuming. So I'm just going to do it this way. All right, and then I'm going to right, and so we're going to stop right at that thing like we said we were. So right where that ends. Okay, now if we do this, what we're going to find is probably this is just a little too tall. That would be my guess. All right, so now when I set this down here, yeah, I'm going to find that this doesn't quite. Oh man, that's perfect. In the center, it's just a little bowed up, which is great. I got no problem with just a tiny little bit of pressure. This is a very soft rubber. Right, so we need to support this side like we said we were. Otherwise, so this side's good because the bottom's got the whole thing. But up here, yeah, the F-rows get a little bit, everything gets a little bit of flex. So like I said, right under there, we're gonna add one more strip. And we could add another one below it, but if we add one there and one there, these will all be really rigid. And these will probably flex down. Yeah, we'll probably do that. So we'll do one under there and one under there as long as there's space for it, right? I think we can probably safely just do this. Right, we'll do another row just like that. Another one just like it. So we're going to do that. Notice I'm not sticking any of it to the PCB, even though that would be easier. I really want to avoid that to the maximum extent possible. Nope, that's not going to work. That might be right. Yeah. Perfect. I'm a couple millimeters off, but not in a bad way. So you can see it's more aligned toward that side's pins than that side's, but there's about 4 millimeters of play, and actually I'm not centered right. So I'll soak a little bit of that. Actually, that looks about perfect, honestly. Anyway, so perfect. And then there's nothing there, so we got like a huge space below this other row of switches where we can do the second one. And I'm not going to be super precise about this one at all, because, well, I just don't think this one matters that much. And that should work just fine, because there should be no pins there anyway. Yeah, plenty of space. Plenty of space. And then, now that we've gotten that, we're going to test fit it one more real quick time. Make sure everything lines up and sinks into place. Then we're going to fill the bottom of it with something else. Hold on. Yeah, that all feels like nothing interferes with anything else really well. Ooh, and it snapped right in. Perfect. The only thing we could do to increase it would be right up here. Yeah, we maybe will, because this corner is not super stable. That's what we're gonna do. Okay. Okay, now let's try it again one more time. Yeah, that's a lot more sturdy. And it snaps in again. Perfect. Okay. Now that we've done that, open this bad boy up. To add some sound deadening to it. So we're going to try this. Is it all actually in place? I want to leave a little relief cut there, I think, for that cable, if there's excess. Plus, that I don't have to do some weird cut job on it if I leave a little bit extra. Sinks right back down. Let's see if this greatly changes. No, not even a little bit. So this might change the acoustics a little bit. I'm hoping for the positive. I guess we could test it one way and then the other, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to add it. It's almost, not quite, like a poor man's mass-loaded vinyl. Except that's not what it is at all. But it does add mass. It does. And it does add vibration dampening. Not through mass, but through actual direct absorption. Anyway. And higher pitch sounds are absorbed easier by thinner foam, so it probably does have an actual effect. All right, so there's that. Now, which one do we want? USB-C or micro? or mini rather, not micro. Ugh, micro is disgusting. I believe what I'm gonna do is, I don't know, man. That's a really difficult question to answer. So in order to put this in, I think what I would do is I would pop the screws through and add a tiny dab of hot glue right there, because these holes are actually too big for the threads to work. And so let's do that real quick. And so one of them appears to be. Now I have tried to test fit this before, so I know that for the most part these don't fit. It looks like all bent into shape a little bit. The way they're held in, they barely touch. So it's still not strong enough, right? So what I'm gonna do is still exactly what I was talking about. And I'm putting like the tiniest little amount. It's literally just holding it in place. So it's literally holding the screw against the case or against the daughter board. And that is it, guys, for that. for the daughter board anyway. It is now USB-C-ified. Yep, that's on there. Right, it's gonna route right like that. Boom. And then it's gonna get screwed together, but before we do all that, let's get these little feet on. We'll screw this bad boy back together. And we'll have a keyboard. And then we'll end the stream. Ooh, good catch. A drawer. Couldn't have planned it that well if I wanted to. Bounced off my leg, went right into a drawer. Get a USB-C cable. Yeah, like I ever have a hard time finding a USB-C cable. That's just an oddity for me. I usually have a plethora of them. Switch hitter. Reset that. That one still has an issue. That's irritating. Alright, so there was like not very much solder on there. Probably got pulled off via capillary action, and if I have future problems with it, I'll be sure to just report it to them. Okay. Well, now that is a complete board, pretty much. Just needs keycaps and case assembly fitted completely on top of it and screwed together. If you guys wonder why I'm backing it up until I hear that click, it's literally so that I don't cross thread anything. Let's get these other caps on and then call her a day. Guess I could take the red arrows too. We'll see how that goes. I may switch to them at some point. Don't want that. Do want that. Is there right now. It's a key you don't hit literally all the time. Think. Yeah, it looks like they're down. Yeah, it's profiled right. Yeah, come on. Doesn't make sense. Feels too far over. Oof, boys. little bit of slow. We'll fix that separately. All right, guys. There we are. I'm gonna clean up and we're good. Well, let me plug it in and show everybody that we can. Alrighty. Sounds good. Looks good. I'm gonna play around with it. Feels okay. Feels heavy enough. Let's try this again. That was dumb. All right. Give it a little glamour shot over at the main rig. Anyway, let's do something like this quick. Feels pretty good. I don't know, man. For the amount of money, what are you talking? Like, let's figure that out real quick. Oh, I have something defeating Windows. Never mind. What is it? So what is it? 118 for the. Anyway, what is it? 19 for our plus. It's, I want to say 30. It gotta be 25, but let's call it 30 for the keycaps. Now I have 2 sets, so whatever. But we'll call it that. Plus, the expensive part was the 140 for the plate and PCB. I think it was $12 for the dollar card. So that's $300. It's not too bad. With keycaps and everything included. Is it amazing? No. So there's some stabilizers in there. I'm not going to count the Band-Aids or the lube or whatever. That's kind of you guys, but let's call the stabilizers $12, which I mean, the Alps stuff was harvested, but you were presumably going to harvest them from something else anyway, and I'm not including switches, which you also would have harvested from somewhere else. So given that these are Alps blues, right, we'll calculate that in a minute. So $12 for the stabs, let's say, plus I put foam in there to make it all awesome, and the whole roll of foam was like $12, so let's call it that, right? So $324 for everything except the switches, which if you use like Alps Blacks or something, you're talking super cheap, right? Your whole board's $350 or less, and it feels pretty nice. It does. It feels like as nice as the fake Skog, which I think probably is going to be in the same ballpark, all said and done, without keycaps even. So yeah, all in all, I think it was a great. I think it was great. Let's get this wrapped around here so we can hear it. Okay. We'll call that a Huey, who I think is streaming right now, but we'll call that a Huey away. So let me go ahead and stop that music. And then we can hear it, right? All right, guys. So on that note, take it easy and have a great night.